Hello guys and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a fun video predicting every NHL team's leading scorer for this next season. Now, I haven't done one of these videos before, but one of you guys suggested it, and going through every single team, there's some pretty big surprises here. So who do I see being the leading scorer from your favorite squad this next year, and will there be any major surprises? Well, make sure you watch till the end as we go through every team, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey content just like this every single weekday, all throughout the year. Now, going in and making these predictions, I kind of expected like 90% of the league to have the same leading score, but I kind of surprised myself with some of the picks. There's some pretty new fresh blood coming into a lot of these teams. Now we're gonna go through reverse alphabetical order, which means we'll start with the Winnipeg Jets today. And last year, back in 2024, we saw Mark Scheifele lead the Winnipeg Jets in scoring. He ended up getting 72 points, 25 goals in 74 games. I do think we'll see a change here for the Jets, and I do think first place for Winnipeg this next year will end up being Kyle Connor. I think he has the capacity to do it, and he might have done it if he was healthy this last year. He got 61 points, 34 goals in 65 games. We really saw him turn on the second half goal scoring wise, but I think if he stays healthy, has another great goal scoring year, we're going to see Kyle Connor back up top for Winnipeg. I also think that in second place this next year will be Josh Morrissey. I think we'll see Scheifele come in third place as he kind of regresses slowly but surely. In Morrissey's case, he's somebody that has been pretty consistently great for the Jets offensively, but I think we'll see him back more in the 2023 range, being closer to a point per game. Now we move on to the Washington Capitals, who are not the highest scoring team in the world, but Dylan Strome was their leader back in 2024, getting 67 points in 82 games. You can see he just continues to improve in his goal scoring ever so slightly. Could maybe get towards the 30 goal mark this next year. But the big question to me is who will be second place in team scoring? You got players like Alex Ovechkin, John Carlson, Tom Wilson. But how funny would it be if Pierre-Luc Dubois comes in and is number 2 already? The thing is, even with how bad his season was with LA last year, he would have been 4th in team scoring for the Washington Capitals. That's how bad their scoring was last year. If he gets more towards the 63-point range, he'd be number 2. I just think of how funny it would be after all the trashing we've done at Dubois if he has a rebound season finally now with Washington. At this point, I think it's going to happen just because the hockey gods are going to spite me. But I think in Dubois' case, I want to see him rebound. I want to see him actually live up to his potential. And it's got to happen at some point, right? Now we move on to the Vegas Golden Knights, and their leading scorer in 2024 is actually the player that left them in free agency in Jonathan Marchessault. It wasn't by a wide margin, but when we see what he was able to do in 2024, Marchessault got 69 points, 42 goals in 82 games. Just an incredible season for him. In terms of who will be left now for Vegas, I think Jack Eichel is going to come in and sweep that position. He's somebody that's been pretty consistent in his scoring, but I want to see him have a full, healthy season with Vegas. We haven't quite seen that. The most games he's played has been 67 back in 2023. I think just playing a full 82 games will put him in this position, likely around 85 points or so. But I do think second place will be William Karlsson, who also has just been really solid over these past couple of years. You had 53 points back in 2023 and 60 points, 30 goals this last season. I don't know if he'll be as high this next year, but could settle around the 60-point range if he has a full 82 games as well. Now we move on to the Vancouver Canucks, and JT Miller was the man back in 2024. He got over 100 points for the first time in his career, 103 points, 37 goals, but I do think we're going to see Elias Pettersson rebound in a pretty substantial way. I don't think he's going to be having 140 points or anything, but I think we'll see him back in that 100-point range and hopefully having a career season. I think he has it in him, but this last year, the second half was just weird for him. It felt like he was injured, he was inconsistent, he wasn't putting in the effort. There were just a lot of things that I think were going wrong, but I think he will turn that page. And I think coming in second place will be Quinn Hughes. I think he will be right there with JT Miller. I think both of them are going to be around 90, 95 points, but I think Hughes is just going to get that edge. Now we have a lot more to talk about in today's video, but first I want to talk about today's sponsor in Mando. There's been a lot of situations in my life where I've been cramming work at the end of the day or going out and realizing how much I might stink in the end. But no matter what sticky situation you might find yourself in, I've found the peace of mind knowing that Mando has me covered. On their whole body deodorant, you have a proven 72-hour odor control, which really helps. Plus you have other great products too, like the cream deodorant if you prefer that. You also have their bourbon leather body wash as well, which smells absolutely incredible. You have the cleansing bar too for the shower, and you even got deodorant wipes if you prefer that too. With the Mando starter pack, it is the perfect opportunity to get started with Mando. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. So what are you waiting for? Get fresher in the shower, in everyday life, and no sticky situations with Mando. All you gotta do is go in the description down below, click on the link there, and use code Graviteh, get $5 off a starter pack. That equates to over 40% off the starter pack as well. And thank you to Mando for sponsoring today's video. On to the Utah Hockey Club. This is a team that you guys know I'm a big fan of heading into next year. I think they're going to be a contender in that Central Division, but I think that offense is going to be a main reason for it. The depth they have, the star power. I think Clayton Keller is going to have a fantastic year. But you got great other options too, like Nick Schmaltz, Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Lawson Krause. And even on the defense, I think if Mikhail Sergachev is healthy, he could put up some pretty solid numbers. But I do think the 1-2 punch will be Clayton Keller and Logan Cooley. I don't think in Keller's case, I think he's going to have a fantastic season, his best yet. I think we'll see him around 100 points or so. And in Cooley's case, I think we're going to see him really have a solid sophomore season, more so around 60 points or so, settling into the NHL level. At least that's what I want to see. That's my expectations there. But no matter what, I think Utah's going to have a solid offense, and I would not be surprised if so many guys come second place. There's going to be a lot of options there. Now on to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I don't think there's many questions, at least if healthy, if Matthews is ready to go, that he will be the highest scorer for the Leafs. You saw he was able to do 69 goals, 107 points this last year, just an absolute king in the goal scoring department. You had William Nylander actually coming in second place last year. You had Marner slumping a little bit offensively, and Nylander rising up, 98 points, 40 goals, an astounding career year. But I do think this year we will see Mitch Marner come back to second place, go a little bit more back to his normal. Maybe he ends up finally getting 100 points. It's kind of crazy that he hasn't at this point, but I would not be surprised if he reaches that plateau. Now on to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and this is another pretty easy one. First place will be Nikita Kucherov. I mean, if he wins the Art Ross again, I would not be surprised. 144 points, 100 assists this last year, just mammoth numbers. The big question will be number 2. Now, you could have Jay Gensel in the mix. He's somebody that is always hovering around a point per game and is always dangerous for that spot. Brandon Hagel could also be in contention. I mean, he got 75 points this last year, almost 50 assists. You kind of have to consider him at this point. But I think number 2 will still be Braden Point. As much as I want to make it interesting, Pointer will still be second place. I mean, he's always hovering around that 90, 85 point position, at least when healthy, and he has been over the past couple of years. He's gotten 95 points, then 90 points this last year. The goal scoring has been so good over the last few seasons, and I see that continuing, especially with Gensel as this great complementary piece. Now going on to the St. Louis Blues, I think it will be a duel between Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. Both of these guys have the capacity to put up some great numbers. Thomas, of course, in the assist department and what he's been able to do there, 60 assists this last year. And in Kyrou's case, the goal scoring has been the advantage. 37 goals back in 2023. I think we'll see Kyrou rebound a little bit, but I still think Robert Thomas will be the number 1 there with Kyrou right behind him. I was debating Pavel Buchnevich for this, but I just think considering the health that he's had, really this last year was the only pretty healthy season he's had in a long time. I think he's somebody that you can't really depend on, though, being healthy and being ready to go in every position, and I think that's a reason why he'll probably come at number 3. Now we move on to the Seattle Kraken, who saw Jared McCann as their leading scorer in 2024. Just a rough offensive season for them in a lot of ways, and in McCann's case, he only led them with 62 points in 80 games. We saw them this offseason looking to correct that, getting both Chandler Stevenson and Brandon Montour, but you got other players too, like Jordan Eberle, you got Andrei Burakovsky as well coming back from health. But even with all those other factors, I honestly think we'll see 2 new guys at the top 2. We're going to see Matty Beniers finally lead the Kraken in scoring. I think he's going to have a massive season, rebounding from a sophomore slump for sure. But you can see in his rookie season, he got 57 points, 24 goals in 80 games. I think we're going to see him around that 70-point range and take a big jump in his production. And I think we're going to see Vince Dunn as well come in second place too. He's someone that had some health issues this last year, only playing 59 games, but still was around 46 points or so. I think we're going to see him in that 65-point range, get back more to that 2023 level, and command Seattle from that blue line. Montour will also be a factor, but I still think Dunn is going to be the top dog. Speaking of a team that'll look completely different at the top, we have the San Jose Sharks here, who had their leading scorer as Mikael Granlund last year. I don't see that happening again. I mean, Mikael Granlund, for somehow, some way, was able to put up 60 points last year with San Jose, 48 assists. Godspeed to him, man. I don't even know how that was possible. This year, though, I think we will see Macklin Celebrini leading the team in scoring. I mean, we know what he's been able to do with BU this last year. I don't think he's going to win the Calder. I still think Matvei Michkov has that, but I see Celebrini being right behind him, being around that 60-point range. It'll be still some progress for San Jose and some time before we see great progress there, but I think Celebrini is going to become number 1. And I think Tyler Toffoli, as well as an offseason addition, is going to be right behind him as a good complementary goal-scoring piece. There has been some times where he's had some inconsistencies, but still, you can rely on him for around 30 projected goals per season, and I think he's going to be around that range again with the Sharks. Now we go into the Pittsburgh Penguins, and once again, we're going to see Sidney Crosby come at the top here. It's astounding how well he's aged. With his contract extension as well, there's going to be no worries, no media speculation about him going away from Pittsburgh, at least for the time being. You could see he increased his point totals from 2023 to 2024, getting 94 points, increasing as well in the goals, getting the most goals that he's gotten since 2017 with 42. I just don't understand how Crosby just continues to do this, and it's sad that I think Pittsburgh will again be taking steps back, but you have Evgeny Malkin still in the mix there, and he came second place last year. But I do think number 2 this season will be Erik Karlsson, who I think rebounds from the just poor production compared to his usual self, at least in 2024. I think we'll see him more around the 60-70 point range. Still not the lengths he got in 2023, but I think because of the more reined in play he has, we're going to see him around that 70 point pace, which is still pretty great. Now on to the Philadelphia Flyers, and you might have expected me to put Matthew Michkov in first place, but actually it's going to go here to Travis Konechny. I mean, even in my own situation, I think I've kind of neglected Konechny a little bit when we talk about the conversation of Philly's forward group, mostly because, of course, Konechny is that right wing on with Matthew Michkov being a right wing, so they might not play together on a forward line, but Konechny is still pretty sick. He's somebody that has just improved in his point production, and this last year got 33 goals, 68 points in 76 games. Staying healthy, of course, will be a big thing for him, but if we do see that, you could easily see him in the 70 point range, which I don't think Matthew Michkov is going to reach in his first year. I think we're going to see him around 60 points or so, 65 points. We'll see him have a great offensive season, but maybe not on Konechny's level. I think Konechny's going to get in first place, and then Michkov right behind him at number 2. Going on to the Ottawa Senators, this is a pretty easy one. We saw Brady Tkachuk actually lead the Sens in scoring this last year, but I think it's going to switch once again, and we're going to see Tim Stützle lead the group here for the Sens in a big way. I'm projecting a huge season for him and a career high. I think he could reach upwards of 100 points this year. I think he's going to be one of the highest scorers in the NHL this next season. I think we saw just some inconsistencies out of him, some just weird stretches where he wasn't himself, but I think this next year we're going to see the reverse, and we're going to see Stützle really come to play. And Brady Tkachuk, you can always count to be around that point per game level. He did dip a little bit back from his 83 point production in 2023, but I think we're going to see him around that range once again, maybe even a little bit more because of Stützle's point upgrade, but Brady Tkachuk is going to continue to put up massive point totals like he always does. Now, speaking of big point totals, we got the New York Rangers, and of course, Artemi Panarin is going to be first place, barring a big injury or some massive decline. Panarin is still going to be that dude. I mean, 120 points this last year, 49 goals in 82 games. It's ridiculous just how efficient he was last season. But the conversation for number 2 is going to be fascinating because you got a lot of options here. You got actually Vinny Trocheck, who came in second place, had a really underrated season with the Rangers, got 77 points, 25 goals in 82 games last year. But you got Chris Kreider in the mix, Mika Zibanejad, even Alexi Lafreniere I could see being in that conversation too. But I do think second place this next year will end up being Adam Fox. I think we're going to see him have a fantastic season. We haven't yet seen him actually reach the 80 point plateau, and it's kind of surprising to see that, but I do think we'll see still that goal scoring be brilliant. But I think we're going to see more offense. I think we're going to see more risk taking out of Fox. That might maybe bring back the defensive game a little bit, but I think we'll see Fox reach his point total high in his career this year. Now on to the Islanders, who also have a few options in their first couple of spots. I will default to Barzal being the number 1 here, though. He's somebody that was able to reach 80 points this last year, officially reached that points per game mark, which is the best he's gotten since 2018. I think that will continue, but I think we'll see him in around the same position. But at second place, you have a lot of options in Bo Horvat, Brock Nelson, Noah Dobson, but I'm gonna pick the boring pick and go for who was second last time around, and Noah Dobson as well. Now on to the Devils, and I think we're gonna see a massive season like Tim Stützle rebounding in a big way. I think we're gonna see the same out of Jack Hughes. He's somebody that was able to show up so many times back in 2023 and started the season out brilliantly this last year. I think a lot of people forget that. In like the first month of the season, I think he was like leading the league in scoring, or he was up there. He was absolutely insane, and then the injury ended up taking him back, but he still finished with 74 points in 62 games. Wasn't as just dominant as he was to start things out, but was still solid. I think we're going to see Hughes get back to that great level, though, and officially hits 100 points this next year. Second place is going to be interesting because you had Jesper Bratt, who ended up leading the Devils in scoring this last year in 2024, getting 83 points in 82 games. You also got Nico Hischier, you got Timo Meier, who I think is going to have a great season here for New Jersey, but I do think Bratt ends up coming in second place. Just the synergy there throughout the entire lineup, the dynamic play that he provides, the skill level, the talent ceiling. It's hard to bet against him. Now we go into Nashville, which is honestly one of the most fascinating teams to talk about for today's video, because you had Philip Forsberg leading them in scoring last year in 2024, who just was dynamic. I mean, it was insane what he was able to do. He played a full season, which I wanted to see out of him, the first time that he's done that since 2017, and you saw the results: 48 goals, 94 points. I think he was really underrated in the Hart Trophy conversation. He was absolutely insane. But you look at the rest of the lineup now here for this next season. You, of course, have Jonathan Marchessault, who led Vegas in scoring last year. You got Ryan O'Reilly, who was really underrated points-wise, 69 points last season. To me, though, the 1-2 will actually might be a little bit surprising here. I think Roman Josi is going to lead the team in scoring, which might not be the biggest surprise. He got 85 points this last year. I think we're going to see him around that same position. But I think number 2 will end up being Steven Stamkos. There's been a lot of conversation about him declining, about him getting worse, but still, you look at the points and it's pretty incredible. The power play ability he provides, I think, is going to be huge for Nashville. I think he's going to be feasting on the man advantage once again. But I think we're going to see him have a little bit of a jump back up in points production. Being the man there in Nashville, I think is going to be doing a lot for him. I think we could see him around 85 points, while Roman Josi's is around maybe 90 points or so. Now on to the Montreal Canadiens. I would love to go a little bit more exciting here and pick maybe a Patrick Laine or a Kirby Dach in a huge rebound season. But I think in both of those cases, this will just be a season to be healthy, for that to be the priority for both these players. And I think in that situation, with them rebounding off the injuries, and in Laine's case, the NHLPA Assistance Program, I think they're just going to want to play a full, healthy season, get their feet back under them, and put up some solid numbers. I don't think they're going to be having career years or anything. I think that will be for 2026, which I think leaves Nick Suzuki still as leading scorer for Montreal, which it has been staying consistent. He got 66 points back in 2023, and then a big jump up, 77 points this last year, 33 goals, continuing to put up some great offensive numbers. And at number 2, I think it'll again be Cole Caulfield. I think it'll mostly be because of the goal scoring improvement, though. He only got 28 goals in 82 games, which compared to 26 goals in 46 games is obviously a pretty big difference there. But I think we'll see Caulfield's shooting percentage go back up to a normal level. I think we'll see him back at his normal self goal scoring wise, with that assist as well on top. This might be the first season where he's hovering around a point per game for a full season. Hopefully. On to Minnesota, and another pretty boring one here compared to some other teams. I think Kirill Kaprizov will, of course, be the leading scorer, but I think we're going to see Kaprizov just dominate. I think we're going to see him have his best season, hopefully his healthiest season. He's yet to play 82 games, but you saw where he got closest in 2022, getting 108 points in 81 games there. I think Minnesota is still going to be kind of disappointing this season, but offensively, I think we could see them take some steps with Kaprizov, and especially Matt Boldy, who I think is going to come in second place here. I'm pretty sure he did last season, but I think we're going to see him take another step, be around maybe that 75-point pace, maybe even a point per game. I mean, he's been steadily getting better and better every single year, and you see 69 points in this last season. He's a stud, though, and I really would love to see him take that even bigger step. Speaking of steps here, it won't be a massive one, I think, for the leading scorer for LA and Adrian Kempe, who once again will get the scoring title for the Kings. He's somebody that's been consistent in that regard over the past couple of years. You look at this last year, the assist really rising up a lot. He was more of a goal scorer over 2022, 2023, but this last year more of a playmaker, and we saw him reach the highest point totals, 75 points in 77 games. I think that will stay around the same range. You could also have Kevin Fiala in that mix, too. He's somebody that obviously specializes in the offense. He got 73 points this last year in 82 games, but I do think second place will be Quinton Byfield, who I see taking another big step. We saw him take a big step this last year, 55 points, 20 goals, that goal scoring being a major improvement for sure, but I think we're just going to continue seeing that with the physical traits he has, the development that is still a ways to go. The ceiling is still far and away here for Byfield, but I think we'll see him around 70 points, and again, putting up some good offensive numbers. and you just love to see it. Now we move on to the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, and 2024 was a major surprise. Sam Reinhart came out of nowhere to dominate with the Panthers in so many ways, getting 94 points, 57 goals, just ridiculous numbers there for Reinhart, and definitely deserving of the scoring lead last year. But I do think this year we'll see him take a little bit more of a step back, more around the 2022 range, hovering around a point per game, I would assume. To me, I think Matthew Tkachuk, we're going to see him get back to that elite status. I think he's somebody that maybe took a little bit of a step back, but I think was bound for just slight regression. I think the goal scoring was a major factor, though. You go from 42 goals, 40 goals, back to 26 goals, and I think we're going to see that goal scoring improve. I mean, Sam Reinhart was really the player that was sucking up all the goal scoring, while Tkachuk was just like, what's going on, man? Reinhart's too good. I think we're going to see it come back down to earth a little bit in both ways. And I think we'll see it in second place, Alexander Barkov, who is always consistent in the points department. You see 88 points, 78 points, 80 points. The big one, though, will be the health there, because he's always missed some amount of time, but I think we'll see him healthy this next year, hopefully, and that will just automatically increase the points he ends up getting. For the Edmonton Oilers, it's Connor McDavid. What did you want me to say? Now on to the Detroit Red Wings, and we saw Lucas Raymond having an incredible season in 2024, leading the Red Wings in scoring. A lot of that was also because of the health there compared to Larkin, where Raymond was able to play a full 82 games. He came up big at some points later on in the season too, getting 31 goals, 72 points. Larkin will still be in the mix though, of course. He's somebody that had a little bit of a step back health-wise, but was still around a point per game, always around that range. But for Detroit, you also have Alex DeBrincat in the mix, even Patrick Kane, who came in with Detroit and was immediately around a point per game. You can't count him out. But I would say with Lucas Raymond re-signed, that is huge, obviously. I'll still go with Dylan Larkin, though, being first place in Red Wings scoring. I think if he's back to his normal health, we'll see him back around that point per game range and around that 80-85 point range as well. And I think we're going to see Raymond just take another step, hopefully getting 80 points for the first time in his career. I think he has the chops for it. I think this next year we will see it. Now on to my favorite team in the Dallas Stars, and this is a fascinating one because I do think Robert Zinn will still stay first place. He's somebody that took a little bit of a step back, especially in the goal scoring department, going from 46 goals to 29 goals this last year. But I think we're going to see him back around that 100-point range. The second place position is interesting because you've always had Joe Pavelski, Rupe Hintz, even Miro Heiskanen in the conversation there. But I do think second place will be Wyatt Johnston, who I think is just going to continue to improve on the points and especially the goal scoring that we've seen already. Last year, a 24-point increase, 41 points to 65 points. And I don't think we're going to see that same type of increase, but I could see around 75, maybe even 80 points when the season is over. Johnston is the real deal, and I think we'll continue to prove that with Dallas. Now on to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and of course with the horrible passing of Johnny Gaudreau, with the trade of Patrick Laine, a lot of the top end for Columbus has of course gone away. I do think for the Blue Jackets, there is opportunity here for some newcomers. I think in Zach Werenski's case, he'll always be up there. He got 57 points this last year in 70 games, finally playing a lot more healthy and getting back to that health, which I think is the most important thing for him. If he stays healthy again, then I think we could see him around that same range. So I'm going to predict him first place. But outside of that, you got Kirill Marchenko, you got Boone Jenner in the mix as well. I do think who's going to take a next step, though, it will be Adam Fantilli, who I don't think he's going to have an incredible season. I don't think he's going to get 100 points or anything, but considering how barren Columbus is, even if Fantilli gets 50 points, which I think is incredibly realistic, I think he could end up being second place for Columbus scoring. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's 55, maybe even 60 points with the opportunity there. Now on to the Colorado Avalanche, another team that is incredibly easy here. Of course, Nathan McKinnon will end up leading them in scoring unless something horrific happens health-wise. I mean, just look at what he's been able to do. Improvement over improvement, not just with the points, but also the health, playing 65 games and 71 games and 82 games this last year. And you saw 51 goals, 140 points. The offensive numbers were just absolutely silly. I do think coming in second place will be Mikko Rantanen once again. He got 104 points, and you can always count for him to get around that range if he is healthy. Now going on to Chicago, Connor Bedard, of course, we're looking to see a big improvement out of him from his rookie season. Already getting 61 points in 68 games. Of course, being healthy, I think, has already been said by Bedard to be the main focus for this next year, and that will obviously, of course, increase the point totals. But I think just the improvements in the physical traits and the muscle there, I think will aid to a lot more success. I think we could easily see him around 80 points or so, maybe even improving from that. Interestingly, last year with Chicago, we saw Philip Kurashev having a breakout year. He got 54 points in 75 games, playmaking-wise, took some big steps. He's somebody that I think will be in the mix, but I do think we'll see a newcomer for this Blackhawks team coming in and providing some support for Bedard and ultimately being the second place scorer. You have Tyler Bertuzzi there, of course, as an option. You have Taylor Hall coming back from injury. But I think sneakily Teuvo Teravainen could have a pretty solid year. I feel like he's a lot younger than I always assume he is. He's only 30 years old, and of course, going from Carolina to Chicago, he will be a really interesting factor here for the Blackhawks. Now, going on to Carolina, we of course will see Sebastian Aho once again being first place in Canes scoring. We saw a big upgrade points-wise from this last year, 89 points in 78 games. Second place will be interesting. I think it'll be between Seth Jarvis and Andrei Svechnikov. In Jarvis's case, he's somebody that took a big step, 67 points this last year. But Svechnikov, if healthy, I think could pretty easily get that position. When he was healthy, was pretty great this last season, getting 52 points in 59 games. If he's around that point per game range, though, and he plays a full 82 games, he could easily get that second place spot. Now on to Calgary, and this is a team that will be really hard to predict because of the potential trade deadline deals that happen. If Kadri stays with the team, though, throughout the full season, I think he will be the pick there. He had a really underrated season last year, 75 points, 29 goals in 82 games, doing really well on a Calgary team that was not doing too well around him. You also have Jonathan Huberdeau as well as a potential option, which if Kadri were to be traded, maybe is the next in line there. Same thing kind of goes in the Kadri situation with Andrei Kuzmenko, who I debated for this position, but I think he's definitely very likely to be dealt during this year. It's already been confirmed that Calgary is shopping him, that he's a potential trade deadline deal to flip from Vancouver to Calgary to somewhere else. But when he did play for the Flames this last year, he got 25 points, 14 goals in 29 games, put up some good offensive numbers, albeit in a sheltered role, but still, I think he could be in that potential realm if it weren't for the deal that's likely going to happen. Now going on to Buffalo, and this is actually one that I have a little bit of a hot take for, I guess if you wanted to call it that. We saw the Sabres really have a downgrade in offense throughout the entire roster, it felt like, in 2024, mostly just because of the weird systems that were going on there. And we ultimately saw Alex Tuch narrowly get the scoring lead last year with 59 points in 75 games. I think there will be a big increase this year, though, in a lot of ways. And I think the leading scorer will actually be Rasmus Dahlin. Now, when you see a defenseman, you're like, okay, maybe they don't get that many points overall. But I think in Dahlin's case, we're going to see him have a career season, get up to 80 points. I think we're going to see him around that range, mostly because of the Lindy Ruff hiring. I mean, Ruff has loved his offensive D for a long time. He got the most out of John Klingberg, got the most out of players like Dougie Hamilton as well. I think we will see that in Dahlin's case too. He's going to have a great impact on him, really allow him to fly offensively, and I think we're going to see him a great year. And in Tate Thompson's case too, I think we're going to see him rebound. I don't think we're going to see him get back to that 94 point situation. I think teams are figuring out how to play him a lot more strategically, but I do think we'll see a much better season out of him than 56 points last year. That was just awful for him. I think we'll see him more around the 80-point range as well. I would not be surprised if Dahlin and Thompson are both tied in points by the end. Going on to Boston, I mean, were you expecting anything different? Of course it's going to be David Pastrnak. Why would you'd be crazy not to pick David Pastrnak? Maybe Elias Lindholm could be a factor, but just look at what Pastrnak's been able to do. Look at the goal scoring. Look at the consistency. It's going to be pasta. It always is pasta. Now going on to, honestly, maybe the most interesting team to talk about in today's video for the actual leading score, because I could see genuinely like 7 different options there in any given situation. There are a lot of choices here for this Ducks team. We saw Frank Vatrano come out with the lack of help for the rest of the roster and have a great season. 37 goals, 60 points, really ride off that incredible first half he had. I think outside of that, though, there's a lot of other options you could go for. If you went for Mason McTavish, I wouldn't really be too surprised. He's somebody that has taken some good steps over the years, but if healthy, I could see around maybe that 70-point range. Leo Carlson could factor it as well. I think it's still a little bit too early for him, but I think after his solid, successful rookie season, maybe he takes a big jump. You got Carter Gauthier, of course, in the Calder Trophy contention. He's somebody that also I could see being around that 60-point range and maybe being Anaheim's leading scorer. But to me, who I think will come 1 and 2 are pretty easy. I think number 1 will actually be Trevor Zegras. I think we're going to see him have a rebound season offensively. Still have the same holes that he's always had on defense, but health will be a big strategy and strength for this next year for him. And you see what he's been able to do. I mean, whatever you can say about Zegras, at least before this season, he was putting up some great point totals. 61 points in 2022, 65 points in 2023. And I could easily see him getting 70, 75 points this next year with the sheer creativity and also the options he has around him. It's a much better offensive top 6 than it was a couple of seasons ago. And in Zegras' case, if he is healthy, I think he will benefit from that. And in second place, I think it will be Troy Terry. You can always bet on him to put up some good numbers with his Ducks squad. He's somebody that has regressed a little bit ever so slightly since 2022 every single year, but I think the goal scoring is something that we're going to see improve on a lot. I think the Ducks could really use that goal scoring in a big way. Outside of Cutter Gauthier and maybe Vatrano last year, there hasn't been that much consistent goal scoring besides Terry, really. And you saw in 2022 how good he was able to be. I think we could see him get back to that level, and hopefully with all the playmakers that Anaheim has, really benefit from that. But those are my scoring predictions for the 2025 NHL season, and I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and comment down below your thoughts on your favorite team. Who do you see leading your team in scoring? And for all the other teams as well, let us know your predictions down below. Of course, share the video for the hockey fans you guys know online, and click on this card for all my predictions content right in one playlist. And of course, go in the description down below and make sure you go and purchase any Mando products you guys can. It helps the channel out a ton when you guys do, and it's really appreciated. And I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you have a fantastic hockey day, and goodbye.